This is a crusade. This is a holy war against the deep state.
Where are the dictators? Where are the strong men?
Donald Trump is our instrument for retribution.
I'm going to fight for Christians. I'm going to fight for white people.
They have the Great Reset. We have the Great Awakening.
And why shouldn't I root for Russia? Which I am.
I want to see these people go through misery because of their grooming against our children.
After the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol.
I did nothing wrong.
Welcome to a premium episode of the Did Nothing Wrong podcast, where we cut through the noise and help you make sense of the chaotic information space around us. I'm Griff Somke.
And I'm Jay McKenzie.
The FBI has arrested a woman for making bomb threats to the Boston Children's Hospital. The Massachusetts native faces up to 5 years in prison, while authorities say the hospital is becoming an increasing target of false threats. NBC News senior reporter Ben Collins joins us now. Ben, what is happening in Massachusetts there? I mean, why did this woman make the threats? What's the motive?
Yeah, so this woman is named Catherine Levy. She's 37 years old. She's from Westfield, Massachusetts. And she sent a bomb threat specifically to Boston Children's Hospital, saying a bomb was on the way and calling them sickos at the hospital. Now, why would she call them sickos? Some, doctors at a children's hospital? There is a right-wing misinformation campaign about trans youths that's been going on the far right in the last few weeks. They've been saying that they are treating trans people in ways they are not, certainly. And it has made the far right extremely upset and started targeting both doctors and the hospital itself.
Ben, the FBI says that, basically the Boston Children's Hospital isn't the only one, that others have also been subject to more than a dozen of other threats recently. So who else has been receiving these threats? And what is the pattern here, if there is one?
Yeah, it's children's hospitals throughout the country who say they treat trans people. Specifically trans youths. And look, it's being targeted by a very specific set of right-wing influencers. There's this account called Libs of TikTok on Twitter, has over 1 million followers on Twitter, and has been explicitly driving this harassment campaign against these hospitals. But it's been picked up by people who used to be big into the critical race theory, anti-critical race theory movement on the far right. This is their new boogeyman. The unfortunate thing is now it's targeting doctors and it's evacuating hospitals where kids are receiving cancer treatment. So it's a pretty scary time right now.
How does someone create a moral panic? These days, perhaps it's as easy as inflammatory captions attached to videos of people you've conditioned your audience to believe are your mortal enemies.
They're the other. They're not like you. They don't want to be like you. They want to make your kids like them. They want your kids to hate you. And these people are protected. You're helpless to stop them, or so you're told.
One account is perhaps most responsible for the anti-trans rhetoric that began sweeping the nation in unprecedented ways only a couple years ago. The operator of the account accomplished this by tweeting out videos of purported liberals on TikTok. Here's a sampling of the phrases the operator of the account captioned her Twitter post with. These are all direct quotes. This person is crazy. We have a mental health crisis. The next generation is going to be worse. This is fucked up. Her whole account is crazy. What in the hell is this? Brainwashed person. What in the mental illness? Someone call CPS. We are doomed. These are the people teaching your kids. Oh Lord, what in the hell is this? The propaganda is really getting out of hand. Blatant fear-mongering, anti-freedom propaganda. They are lying to us. The consequences of CRT. Literal child abuse. COVID broke people's brains. Peak mental illness. It gets even worse. This absolute shit is literal clown world.
Again, these are all direct quotes from this account. There was a time when identifying as pizza was considered parody. No longer. The national divorce continues. They're literally just making shit up. Mental illness in a nutshell. Everything woke turns to shit. Activist teacher shows off book collection she uses to indoctrinate third grade students. Insane. Get your kids out of public schools. Australia is now full-on fascism. This is insane again. These are the people you entrust your 2-year-old with. This insanity is happening on college campuses. Hashtag Australia has fallen. Liberal white women are destroying this country. Wow, what a trash human. People have lost their minds, and we could go on, but we'll stop there. These are the words of Chaya Raichik, the owner and operator of the Twitter account known as Libs of TikTok.
I did it, my first investigative report actually last week, which is what got me suspended now from Twitter for 7 days. But other than that, and by the way, I hope to do more of those in the future. But yeah, it's reposting from these people, publicly available stuff, videos, screenshots, pictures, all publicly available that they readily put out. And I just take that, I bring it to Twitter, and I just present it to my audience and say exactly this is what they're saying. You know, I just present it, and they can't, the libs cannot stand it. They can't handle it.
How did she get started? Well, before Chaya Raichik was anybody, she was a nobody in Washington, D.C. on January 6th to protest what many in the MAGA movement believed was a stolen election from Donald Trump.
Around that time, Raichik had less than 1,000 Twitter followers. She was or had recently been a real estate agent, but really in terms of online presence or clout, she was nobody. She was another foot soldier in Washington, D.C. protesting because Donald Trump told them to be there that day.
Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Now, less than 3 years later, Raichik's Twitter account, Libs of TikTok, has become a right-wing sensation and boasts over 2.5 million followers.
So I think you've done an amazing thing, and unlike so many other people in journalism, and I am going to, whether you like it or not, describe you as being in journalism, because I think you are.
I think I am too.
You've had an effect, a real effect, by bringing this to light. How did you wind up, to the extent you're comfortable sharing it, like, how did you wind up doing this? I assume you went to Columbia Journalism School to become a journalist?
I went to Harvard and Yale. Thank God I didn't, though, because those are now obviously, those institutions were all poisoned. But so it started really during COVID. I was noticing all of this content that was being published on TikTok, and I was just like, this is crazy.
Wait, but at this point, you're not in a related field, like you weren't.
No.
You're not doing anything related to public policy or journalism.
Nothing related to politics, journalism, no. Media,
Were you
nothing.
very political?
No.
Really?
I was not, yeah.
Because COVID was like the other day. This was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this was 2 years ago. Well, my account started 2 years ago, yeah.
That's just incredible that you can have this effect this quickly.
She appeared on Tucker Carlson's daytime show on Fox, as well as pick a right-wing influencer, and she's probably been there. She received a sponsorship deal from the conservative, air quotes, just the largest air quotes you can imagine, comedy site, The Babylon Bee. And Donald Trump even praised her book, which is a big get for right-wing influencers.
We need to talk about how she's been so successful at mainstreaming hate. Spoiler alert. Shamelessness plays a prominent role. And this is something we've seen before. We've talked about this in several other of these permanent record episodes. It's kind of similar to how Cassandra Fairbanks, Tim Pool, some of these people will just get up and say almost anything in order to get the clicks, in order to get into the algorithm and to get their content in front of the most eyeballs possible. She's followed that formula from what I can see. Just been able to figure out how to get the outrage going, and she's running with it. It's amazing what she's been able to accomplish in 2 years doing that. It's scary.
Yeah, and she's managed to convince a lot of people to amplify her content and done it really quickly. She tags a lot of influential right-wingers and has really since she changed the Twitter account's handle to Libs of TikTok. But she's pointed people in her direction. Here's content that she thinks they will like, and here's a narrative that she believed they would sell. They hit retweet, and yeah, if somebody like Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro or Glenn Greenwald is retweeting you a few times, well, then your audience is going to grow really quickly. And she found a niche. She found a thing that nobody on the right was really doing, partly because a lot of them just weren't on TikTok and they weren't seeing these things. But she made it incredibly easy for them because really all they had to do was click retweet, and it was a narrative that their audience was already on board with.
Mm-hmm.
And when the backlash came, she just kind of repeated the same things these people did. It's constant projection of, no, these people I'm posting videos about that are getting harassed, they're not the victim. I'm the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And she's called herself, and plenty of others on the right have called her a journalist. She's just reporting on what other people are saying and what other people are putting out there. And why is the left so afraid of you seeing the things that they're doing? She's just exposing what's already in the public square. And it's not a surprise, but it has been pretty meteoric in terms of how quickly she's got to this point.
Right. And it says something about how thoroughly the GOP thinks that the trans issue is a winner for them. They ran hard on it in 2020. They ran hard on it again in 2022, and it doesn't seem to have won them too terribly many votes. But
the content, Libs of TikTok is, as your political strategist, does not seem like a good idea, but the content.
Yes. And the amount of people that are taking that content and doing really awful things with that content, like calling in bomb threats, is why we're really doing this today, why we're having this conversation. Because it would be one thing if it was just a bunch of people being outraged on the internet. That's a thing. But we've gone well beyond that with this specific account.
The targeted attack started when Libs of TikTok, an account with more than 1 million followers, posted a News 5 story from 2019 about Akron Children's providing these services. These online threats targeted the hospital and their doctors.
Even taking this interview puts me at risk.
Rebecca Miner is a gender specialist who is one of the many caregivers around the country that has been facing harassment and online attacks. After the Libs of TikTok account tweeted against a Boston and DC hospital, the FBI says both had threats of violence called in.
The assumption is like, oh, they're mutilating children and, just handing out bottom surgery. There's actually so much gatekeeping in this process.
The creator behind the social media account told the Washington Post her team 100% condemns any acts or threats of violence, but later wrote on her site that she won't stop calling hospitals and sharing their information.
I don't even want to say that well,
why not?
Yeah, I know.
It's like every time she mentions anybody, the next thing you know, within days, they're getting bomb threats. It's like literal clockwork at this point.
I don't think that she's never had a point in her criticisms of people. It's just always, if the criticism is a 3, we make it sound like a 6. If it's a 4, we make it sound like a 9. I don't always agree with everything that my kids' teachers say and do, and I think it's fair to ask if something they do is appropriate or not. But it is taken, well, I don't know if I like that, or I don't know if that's best for my kids, to a trans flag in the classroom is grooming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where she is with this, and that's where she's taken her followers to literally believe that, yes, you have to get your children out of public schools because they are trans-tifaing your children.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about it because nobody cares, and the left accepts this. The left is cheering this on. And it's not true. It's just not true.
Move out of the cities. Move out of the cities. It's that same narrative. And we've gone from let's show a little more acceptance to kids who might be questioning things, to this is an indoctrination campaign. And that's where this thing all gets wild, because we're not talking about you going to your kid's school and asking the teacher questions about the specific curriculum. I mean, she's not saying go to curriculum night and ask good questions. She's saying these people are not even human. These people are crazy. These people are mentally ill. These people are destroying the country. These people are clown world. She's using rhetoric that if you believe her and you believe that these things are issues, again, how far does one go to stop these things from happening? What is defensible in terms of stopping somebody who you're being told is a groomer? What is the limit to what you would go up to? And what we've seen is that the people who seem to be getting influenced by her content don't seem to have much in the way of a limit in terms of how far they'll go when it comes to, in their minds, stopping this kind of thing.
Yeah, because it is an existential threat. It is the height of a moral panic, and instead of communists literally everywhere and Joe McCarthy outside the Capitol, you have got Chaya Raichik from her Twitter account posting about this supposed threat of wokeness, of CRT, that if you were to kind of religiously follow her account, would seem like it's in every classroom, every day, that your children are constantly being bombarded with this vile propaganda that wants to turn them into something you can't even recognize. And the left thinks it's funny, and they're doing this because they can, and they're laughing at you. And what are you going to do about it?
Exactly. And it's the what are you going to do about it part that's the real scary piece of all of this, because we've already seen what some of her fans are prepared to do about it.
Red Oak was evacuated on Thursday and again on Friday due to emailed threats. But searches with police and bomb-sniffing dogs determined there was no credible threat in either case. This comes after a post nearly 2 weeks ago on an anti-LGBTQ account on the website formerly known as Twitter targeted the school.
The FBI has recently released that in 2022, threats to public schools increased over 66%. Therefore, this is becoming a new reality, an unfortunate reality.
Today, Highland Park city officials joined school administrators, reiterating their commitment to taking threats seriously and denouncing what happened, saying, quote, "It is unacceptable that individuals acting with such disregard for public safety and student learning have disrupted school days, library programming, and other activities throughout the nation."
And that part is just absolutely terrifying. We've got teachers getting doxxed. We've got hospitals getting shut down because someone called in a bomb threat. We've seen all kinds of this kind of behavior over the last couple years, and it's almost like I said, like clockwork. You can see something go up on her page, and within a couple days, the threats start.
Yeah.
And she can walk away from that all she wants to. She can claim she doesn't have any responsibility for that, but come on.
And yeah, this is the point where we have to issue that disclaimer of she cannot be held legally liable under the current laws that exist in this country. It does not appear as if Chaya Raichik has broken any of those laws. Now, should those laws be changed? Should this be legal? Should she be allowed to do this with impunity? Well, I leave that up to you, and that's why we're here to talk about this.
Well, and this is a conversation we need to have as a society, because we've gotten to a point where, like, how much internet is too much for some people? You have been listening to a sample of a premium episode of the Did Nothing Wrong podcast. For just $5 a month, you'll get access to this episode, as well as a new one every week, and our entire library of premium episodes. Head on over to didnothingwrongpod.com/subscribe to sign up today. Thanks again for your support. We couldn't do it without you.